ladies and gentlemen, to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams, and today we have a Carolina great, and more importantly, we have one of my greatest teammates. But first and foremost, please subscribe to the Carolina Conversation, and in the comment section, please give me some constructive criticism so I can learn how to do this a little bit more efficiently and be better, and just give me some constructive criticism. Don't tell me, Shammond, you're doing great. I want constructive criticism where I can get better. But going back to my guest, I mean, he's one of my brothers. I mean, we have long line of conversations and stories. But more importantly, man, he's an outstanding individual. I mean, he came to the University of North Carolina in 1997 as a McDonald's All-American. He was the best player in the state of North Carolina, and Lord knows he's done a lot of great things for others, but more importantly, he's been a steward for the University of North Carolina. He's also been an NBA champion, but he is my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the great Brendan Hayward.
Hey, man, that's an intro right there, man. That is an introduction right there. Hey, you forgot one thing. When you're doing your thing on YouTube, you gotta make sure you tell them like and subscribe. That's important. They gotta like the comment. They gotta subscribe it. But hey, man, I'm happy to be on here. One of my favorite UNC guys ever. I came in the game learning from underneath you. Not sure if I ever told you this, but for years, whenever I would go talk to kids at camps, I would always tell them your story. I would always tell them the Shammond Williams story. Like because they knew Carolina, they knew Shammond Williams. Everybody know Vince Carter, right? Y'all know how Vince Carter got here, but I would always tell the Shammond Williams story of how he didn't have any college offers. He worked on ball handling before it was cool. Like, hey, everybody wasn't working on ball handling for 30 to 45 minutes every single day before and after practice the way this guy was. And so I was like, this guy came into Carolina as just a shooter, left as a dynamic point guard that was an NBA player and a professional overseas for years. So I've been telling your story to kids for probably a decade. Like, this is how you got to work if you want this paper.
Right, man. Well, I appreciate it. But it's a great thing to have you speak about me in that regard. But we're here for you, man. And
I gotta give you your flowers. Gotta give you flowers.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you. You know what? You've actually given me my flowers, and just how you were as a freshman, and I'll never forget this. This is a story that many don't know. Our last game, the last time that me and Coach Gutheridge ever had a hiccup, it was because of Brendan Hayward. and it went like this. We were in the Final Four, and we made a comeback. And at the time, they called a timeout. And I came over to the bench, and we were sitting there, and I said, Coach, you probably need to put Brendan in here. And Coach said, Shammond, you going to be the coach right now? I said, well, Coach, it really ain't going to matter, because if we lose, this is my last one anyway. And at that point in time, it wasn't that I was trying to go against Coach. I felt like with McTar fouling out, I felt like your impact in that game would have helped us. And it's not saying I'm going against Coach, but I believed in you that much. That's one thing that I always wish that I could have done. Maybe if I would have used a different type of words, or maybe if I would have said it differently, maybe it could have happened. But, I've grown as an adult. But my last little hiccup with one of my coaches was because of you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Listen,
that's the way it goes. And you know what? I honestly think that I would have had an impact on that game, because you tell that story. We're playing Utah. McTar Njai is our only true big, because Antoine is a finesse big. Ademola Okulaja is not really a big man. He fouls out, and Michael Doliak is going to work. He's looking like Kevin McHale down there.
No question.
I was 7 foot. I had size, and I could block shots. I knew my role. I wasn't going to be out there trying to take no shots. All I was going to do was dunk and jump hook and try to block shots. And so I think I could have possibly made life a little bit harder on Doliak as far as what he was doing inside, because he was just getting whatever he wanted. So I mean, it was a fair question for you to ask Coach Gutheridge, rest in peace. And sometimes players have to ask coaches certain things. I remember, Sean May's like my little brother.
Right.
He'll tell you a story of Coach Roy Williams, the great Roy Williams, on their championship run. I want to say they're playing Illinois. And he calls a play down the stretch of that game for Rashad McCants. And Melvin Scott steps in and says, hey, Coach, with all due respect, we here because we rolled the big fella. And so he did the same thing. He questioned the coach. He was like, listen, we got to call the play for Sean. They can't. I know Rashad normally gets these buckets here, but we got to ride Sean. So sometimes players have to say things to coaches, and it's okay as long as it's in a positive light. Your coach can either say, yeah, we're going to do it, or no, we not.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should have said with all due respect.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what, though? Anytime you say with all due respect, normally disrespect comes behind. That's what I'm like.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Well, let's go back to 1997, man, when you were in high school. What made Brendan Hayward go to the University of North Carolina? What made you choose University of North Carolina, being highly recruited and being a dominant basketball player in the United States? What made you choose?
Well, listen, I had a bunch of schools that I was considering going to, and it came down to Kansas, Wake Forest, Carolina, Clemson, and Miami. Me and Roy Williams always joke about this. He chose Eric Chenoweth over me. And so once he chose Eric Chenoweth over me, some people are like, who's Eric Chenoweth? That's the point. And so he chose Eric Chenoweth over me, and I just like, okay, well, I can't go there because we were both – Eric Chenoweth at that time was probably like a top 20 recruit. So then I thought about going to Clemson. My guy that I went to high school with by the name of Vincent Witt was down there.
Vincent Witt.
I took a visit to Clemson. As much as I thought Coach Barnes was a great coach, I hated my visit. It was so boring down there. I told my mother, I said, listen, I can't stay down here for 4 days. I definitely can't do 4 years. So Clemson was off the list at that point. And so it really just came down to Carolina, Wake Forest, and Miami. And I was really Leonard Hamilton did an incredible job. I was really leaning towards Miami. I was like, he took me down there, had a great time. A little small town kid from Greensboro went down to Miami and kicked it like for the first time ever. So
right.
He had some other young guys that he was going to bring in with me, and everything that Coach Hamilton said he was going to do, he eventually did it too. So he was an excellent recruiter. But as I was making my decision, my mom, Barbara Haywood, she shoots it to you straight.
There you go.
She said, your goal is to be a professional, right? I said, yeah. She said, well, baby, how many pros has Miami put into the league that are big men? I said, I don't know. I went and I looked it up. They hadn't put any. Then I was like, well, how many professionals in general have they put in the pros? They didn't have any. She said, exactly. So you know what? Right after we looked that up, we called Coach Williams and we called Coach Smith and told him, hey, man, I'm coming to Carolina. So it came down to Miami and Carolina, and what really made me choose is that Carolina's pipeline of just developing big men and getting those guys into the pros, and then combine that with the family aspect. I saw so much of what Coach Smith did for guys that did make it to the pros. Guys that did, like some coaches, they show the love to the pros, but those guys gonna be all right.
Right.
I look at the character of a coach. What are you doing for the guy that played 4 years and, now he has to get a regular job? Are you going to help him get that job? Are you going to help put him in position to be successful? And everything so when I talk to people, all the stories about Coach Smith were glowing. And when I looked at what he brought from a family aspect and as a person, what he was going to bring to my life, and then the fact that the guy was just putting pro after pro in there from the post, it was an easy decision after that. He got Serge Rickard to the NBA for a hot second, man. I was like, hey, I can do this too. I got to find, listen, man, I ain't going to be no fool now. Miami, I had a good party, but I got to go down here and hit these books in Carolina real quick.
Right. No question. I was waiting for Miss Haywood. Now, I knew, in my mind, I didn't know, but I knew. So Miss Haywood had to have her foot on this thing because
she let it be my choice, but she guided me there.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna choose it, but I'm gonna make him think he did choose the thing. But that's good. I mean, because your mom, man, I mean, she's very impactful. She's a sweetheart. She's one of our moms, and we love her. And I'm really glad that she gave you some insight to focus on what you were actually trying to obtain. And so how was it when you first got here, Brendan? We were seniors and you were freshmen coming in. How was it coming in? Because if you don't know by now, this young man has best way to say this. He knows how to get his point across. Let's say that. He knows how to get his point across. So how was it coming as a freshman?
Coming in as a freshman was good, man. It was good. I really, like I said, I thought that I would play more my freshman year, but I still wasn't worried about it as much because I understood that I was going to get opportunities. But listen, I had a great time learning from you guys. I think that my experiences helped me when I did become a professional. And then, like I said, also, listen, man, I'm talkative. Sometimes I gotta be quiet. I didn't know that as a freshman. And listen, man, sometimes it was, and the thing that people don't realize is my freshman class was quiet except for me. Like you got Brian Bursticker, Max Owens, and I was the one like, yo, nah, man, we're not listening to these seniors, man. So sometimes life was tough for me. I was the only one that was gonna say something. But I'll tell you this, because I had it tougher than the rest of the freshmen because I would speak out. This is why you go to college. Because when I got to the pros, I was like, nah, I made that mistake my freshman year. I'm gonna
right.
When I got in there with Kwame Brown, I let Kwame do all the talking. I was like, I'm just gonna be quiet, just like Max Owens. Because my freshman year, man, you got sometimes the seniors yelling at me, Mac Tar being hard on me. Hey, Mac Tar thinking I'm coming in and taking spot. He was so hard on me. He listened. I didn't realize what was going on when I was a freshman. As I got older, I was like, dog, this dude really thought that I was going to just take his spot and make him irrelevant. So he was hard on me every single day out of fear. And so, like, as you grow and learn, you understand what it was. In my freshman year, it was great. I learned a lot. Some of the friends that I made on Carolina's campus as a whole are still some of my best friends today. And I love the experience through the good and the bad. Yeah.
Well, your freshman year, man, when you came to campus, we understood that you were talented. But I would say this, like, I thought Mac Talk was hard on you because I just felt like, he felt like that was his responsibility to help you grow. Like, not until you just said, Mac Talk probably felt like he was taking his job. I never even considered that because, that's just how Carolina basketball was. You know what I mean? But, I do remember, like, a lot of times, because you were talkative and you would speak your mind. It's kind of like
it works good for me in this profession. Maybe not as much as a freshman.
Hey, but I would tell you this, Brendan. I never had to get on you much because Mac Talk would get on you. But I would sit there and say, Dad, he talking, but what he's saying is right. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, do you get on him because he's talking, or do you get on him, or do you just let it pass because what he's saying is right? And so, the one thing that I did appreciate about you was you knew what you were talking about. It's not like you would just throw something out there that was just vehemently incorrect. It was enough to make somebody say, you know what? He's right on with that. You know what I mean? It was kind of like you had some wisdom there, and some intuition in you that allowed you to understand things or be able to throw things out there to make people say, you know what, let's try that. And so I think that's why you will find yourself being fussed at about just your shoe not being tied or something to that regard.
Yeah.
And so, one question I would ask you is, how was it when you came to the locker room that night after running the mile and Coach Smith said that he was going to retire?
Man, that was a crazy day for me because, I was a lot heavier coming in as a freshman actually I was a lot heavier coming out of high school than even when I got to Carolina's campus. So I spent all summer running the mile, doing the 12-minute run, because those are 2 Carolina conditioning tests that you have to pass.
That's right.
Making sure I ate the right things, because I went there and Coach Smith, they brought me in and they weighed me. I was 320 pounds, 22% body fat. And they said, listen, fam, this ain't it. This ain't the move.
Right.
So all summer I worked. I was like, yo, when they see me again, I'm gonna be able to get this mile run, and I'm gonna weigh less. By the time I stepped on Carolina's campus, and mind you, I was 320 when they weighed me, 319 to be exact.
Right.
I was 285 when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I worked hard. All summer long, I've been prepping my mile time, because the first time I ran the mile on my own, I ran it with a stopwatch. I was like, you got to beat the mile in the time. So I beat it. I had to beat it in 6 minutes. I ran it on my own. I think it was like 9 minutes. And I don't know, you're not a runner, but to cut 3 minutes off your time, you got to run every single day to eventually train your body. So I get there, we do the mile run. I'll never forget, I'm in the bottom turn, and they're like 30 seconds left. I don't think I'm gonna make it. You know that we have managers at every part of the track.
That's
30
right.
seconds left. I sprint to the end. I cross, and I got to beat 6 minutes. I cross at 5:59. I'm thinking I'm starting my career off perfect. I busted my butt all summer. I beat my time. Coach Smith gonna love it. We got this meeting coming up. It's about to be special. And I walk in and Coach Smith says, I'm retired. I was like, man, come on. And it's weird because I'm like, I thought the moment was going to be different, but my moment was just wrecked after that. And then I'm seeing some of these other guys that normally are laughing and joking. I'm looking around and man, I see people over there crying, man. I'm like, man, what is going on? Like, are we going to be okay? That was my biggest thing. I was like, I came here for Coach Smith. Like Coach Gutheridge helped recruit me, but I came here for Coach Smith. I came here for that guy. And so I was a little bit worried. I thought, should I transfer? I don't know. Like, and then, like I said, to see guys that I respected crying, you know, like that was different for me because those guys didn't show that side to me. So like, I was like, yeah, this might be a little bit bigger deal than I originally thought, man. So I was worried. And that my day just kind of turned upside down because it went from one of the best days of my life. I came in, I prepped to beat that test and impress Coach Smith, and I did it. And the next thing you know, he was retiring. And, you know, that's what the world is. All right, got to adjust.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, you handled it a lot better because I remember at the time, I remember when he said it, I kind of looked at you guys and I said, I feel sorry for you guys because I was thinking he was going to coach that season and then retire at the end of that season. And then, when he said, no, Shimon, I'm going to resign right now, as of today, like you said, that was difficult at that time. But, I thought we did a good job as a basketball team moving forward. But moving forward, there were some decisions that were made, that kind of affected you. And you alluded to it previously. But tell me your thoughts about the 6-man starting rotation.
Man, I was so young that I didn't realize what was going on. Like when I look back now, 6-man starting rotation, that's probably not the move. You know what I'm saying? No, like you got to understand, because I got on Carolina's campus. I'm 17. I'm 17 years old. You tell me there's going to be a 6-man rotation. I'm like, a 6-man starting lineup. I'm like, normally it's 5, but if y'all doing it differently here, that's cool. I'm 17. What I'm going to do? As I got older, I realized that you got to pick your starting 5 and then just talk to the one guy that's not going to be in it and be like, listen, this is what we need from you, and maximize your lineup in that fashion. Because we had, like, for people that didn't know, because it was so long ago, we had that 6-man starting rotation meant that every other game, somebody else sat out and came off the bench. No, there should never be no game that Antoine Jameson was coming off the bench that year because he was incredible. Like, Twan was like Mr. Everything in basketball. Just because we have a 6-man rotation, that don't mean we play Georgia Tech, he's supposed to come off the bench. Man, if you don't tell Okalaja somebody come off the bench and stop tripping. Like, that's what I was thinking now. As a young kid at that time, I'm not going to lie, I had my own problems. I wasn't worried about y'all 6-man rotation. I was just trying to say, how can I be the 7th man?
Right.
That's all I was thinking about. How can I be the 7th man? You guys, the 6-man rotation, y'all going to be okay. Y'all all going to get in the game. I'm down there. I don't know if I'm going to get in or not. So I was like, how can I be the 7th man? But the 6-man rotation, looking back today, that was probably a mistake for our ball club.
Yeah. Well, the why I asked you the question, because when you have a 6-man starting rotation, it's kind of like you understand that these 6 guys are going to play and you're going to obligate time to these guys. And because you feel like they're making a sacrifice, that may keep other people from having an opportunity to play much. And so as opposed to just having, 5. And so because I was part of the six, the starting 6-man rotation, I've never had a conversation with anybody that was actually outside of that rotation. And so with you being the 7th man, more than likely, it's interesting to see what your perspective on it was. Now, even though you were young, from the outside looking in, it would be, it was interesting to find out what your thoughts were about it, especially at that time.
If I was the coach of that team, I would have made it a 5-man rotation. I would have started Ed Cota because he was the floor general. I would have started you because we needed the shooting and the spacing that gives us another ball handler. I would have started Vince because of what just all Vince brings to the game. And Vince needs that mentally. You know what I'm saying? Vince needed to be in that starting lineup. You can't bring Vince off the bench. Twan was our best player. And I would have started Maktar because he gave us the beef inside. I would have brought Ademola Okulaja off the bench, not because he didn't deserve the start, but because I think at that time, he would have been the most mentally prepared to come in and just be fine in that lineup. Like, Twan had to play. You had to start Mac because we had to have somebody big inside because game was different then. So you needed somebody 6'10", 7 feet on the floor to hold things down. And at the end of the day, I think Okulaja would have been able to handle it. I think that he wouldn't have taken it as personal and let it affect his game.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because Antoine and I had Antoine on the podcast, and we were talking, and the one thing that we all about that 98 team was, we wanted to win it. A lot of us came back to try to win it, and I told Antoine because he said he can't watch the Final Fours and things like that. I told him I watch it, and the things that I've seen from teams that have won it, they've always had a great player to come off the bench. Every team that's really won it, they've always had a great person to come off the bench. And I told him, I said, had I known that at the time, you know what I mean? I said, I would have volunteered and came off the bench. And just, for a chance to win a national championship, I would come off the bench, because I'd rather have that ring. You know what I mean?
I understand that aspect of it. But you got to understand where our team was. Antoine wasn't shooting threes at that point in his career. Vince was an inconsistent shooter at that point in his career. And Ed wasn't shooting. You had to start. Like, if there were 3 guys that had to start, it had to be you, Ed, and Twan. Now, Vince was our most talented player. So I'm putting him in there. And then knowing Vince, like, his mentality would have been different because he was probably the highest recruit. So when I say, but the 3 guys that had to, you, Ed, and Twan had to start based on the way the roster was set up. I'm putting Mac in because we needed that interior shot blocking presence. Then I'm putting Vince in, and now I can bring Ademola off the bench. That's just what I see. What I'm saying? Like, I think it would have been just fine because Ademola is good enough to play 3, 4, and 5. But then who he was mentally, I think he would have been able to handle that.
Yeah.
Oak was very mature, man. Ademola was very mature.
Oh, very, very.
I was immature. I was over there mad, like, dog. Like, forget the 6. What y'all gonna do with the 7th man, dog? Like, y'all gonna use me?
Yeah. And but we had a great season, and we won some games and so on and so forth. And so, tell me about your thought process when you saw all of us leave. I mean, we were senior. I was a senior. Mac was a senior. Antoine, Vince. What was your thought process moving forward, going into that following season when a lot of us were leaving and it was time for you to step into that role?
Well, I figured most of you guys were leaving. Obviously, you were a senior. Mac was a senior. Twan played so great he couldn't come back. There were some questions on was Vince going to come back? But I'm thinking to myself, man, I know I wouldn't come back if I was Vince. Like, just because he had done so much, he was going to be a top 5, 6 pick. Why are you coming back? So at that point, I expected a mass exodus. And so my mindset was just, all right, I got to do something now. I said I wanted to play. I said I wanted to play, so let's play. Like I had to make sure that I was ready to do what I could do. And so came in my sophomore year. We still had Adam Elijah there. He was a great leader for us. Didn't do what we were supposed to do. Got into the tournament, got upset by Weber State. But we still had a good year that year. And when you look at our team, like I went back and watched the old clip. It was amazing how many games we won with how unathletic we were as a ball club. Like when you look at, you had Ed at the point guard, Jason Capel, Adam Elijah, and Chris Lane. That's not a lot of speed and shot making and shot creating out there. But just off Ed being smart, the Carolina system, running through the plays, we were still able to be, I think we were a top 3 seed. We were the number 3 seed that year. And we ended up getting knocked off by Weber State. And that's just what happens in the tournament. We still should have won that game. I played probably one of the worst games of my career that game. But when you guys left, my whole thing was just make sure that we keep this thing going. I think we pretty much had a good year for the type of talent that we have. Like, dog, like that wasn't a super fast athletic Carolina club. There wasn't a Stackhouse. There wasn't an Antoine Jameson or Vince Carter. We had to win a different way.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so now, having, somewhat of a letdown, like you said before, not being able to progress in the NCAA tournament, what was your thought process? Because a lot of people were talking about that team not going as far as possibly they possibly could. What was the makeup and what was the thought process moving into that junior year?
Coming into my junior year, I realized that there was a lot of talking. What's going on with Carolina? Then I played good that year, but I didn't have in the tournament. You know how it is. That last impression you leave, I didn't play well. So people were questioning me. And I think what was big for me was there was the World University Games that summer. That's basically like the college Olympics. So the top college players go out there and they compete to go represent the USA. And it was huge for me to make that team. Because I honestly think some of our coaches were shocked I made that team. Because me and Chris Lane came back, I'm dead serious. Like, I was like, yeah, I made it. They're like, well, what spot did Chris get? I was like, well, no, he didn't. I was like, dog, like they was like, the look on their face, like, he didn't make it? I was like, nah, I didn't. Like, so for me to go out there and compete with Chris Mim, Kenyon Martin, Eton Thomas, like there's all these different dudes that were known for doing big things at all these other schools. That was huge for my confidence. Because I came into my junior year, I came into my junior year like, oh, I just went out to Denver, Colorado and played against the best players in college basketball and I held my own. Then I went out there and I played against Pau Gasol when he was younger. I didn't know who he was supposed to be, but I went out there and played against the best in the world in that age group and we won the gold medal and I was a key contributor and started a lot of those games. So just getting back out there playing for the World University Games team was huge for me. My confidence was good. And I think coming into my junior year, once again, we had a good team that year because Joe Forte ended up coming to that team. He was big for us. We were more talented that year, but our mindset was different. Everybody was going in different ways. And you talk about most championship teams have a guy that comes off the bench. What I've seen is that most championship teams have guys that are willing to sacrifice.
That's right.
Our junior year, we didn't have guys that we weren't always willing to sacrifice because we were getting into like, hey, I want to go to the league. I think I should get this shot. There was infighting. And so sometimes it would just come out and, there were days we'd like you watch the film and I could be like, yo, dog, he ain't passing him the ball on purpose. Like, shit, I ain't gonna call nobody out, but I'm like watching the film like, yo, dog, we can't win like that. Like, so like that was a growing process for us. But I think what was so special about my junior year was a lot of people didn't even think we were going to make the tournament. And you forgetting that year, dog, we had some major struggles. We lose in the first round of Wake Forest. Some people didn't think we were going to make the tournament. We lose to Wake Forest in the first round of the ACC tournament. Not only do we make the tournament, but we go in there because, dog, we were an 8th seed. Carolina is never an 8th seed, Shaman. An 8th seed? Like, we might be 1, 2, 3, 4 at the lowest, but we were an 8th seed that year. You knew it wasn't a typical Carolina year because in the second round of the tournament, we were taking on Stanford and they were the number 1 seed.
Right.
Like, So we came in and we just came together as a group. Myself, Joe Forte, Jason Capel, Julius Peppers was on that squad, Ronald Curry. Chris Lang, we just all came together and we made an incredible run. We shocked the world. We beat Stanford. You know, Stanford got like the Collins twins and Mark Madsen. You know, I was charged up. I'm like, oh, these the dudes that supposed to be going to the league? Let's eat. Let's go play.
Yeah.
Like I outplayed all those guys when we played them. We beat Missouri. We end up going to we beat Tulsa to go to the Final Four. No, we beat Tulsa and Tennessee on our way to go to the Final Four. So like, my junior year, I just remember going into the tournament, I had a different mindset because I was like, what happened to me my sophomore year is not going to happen again. Right. I'm like, yo, I know because that's my first time playing in a tournament. The games were different, a little bit more physical. Referees ain't going to bail you out. So my mindset was different and it worked. Like my mindset, I'm going up against pros in that first game and I was the best big man on the floor. And that was all because of my mindset. I learned from my mistakes. So my junior year was incredible because we did what a lot of people didn't think we could do. And we went to the Final Four on a team that wasn't really rated that high.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess because I had, had an opportunity to play against you guys in the summertime because I was there in the summertime. I knew how talented I felt like you guys were. So.
Joe was incredible, man. Joe Forte, he was incredible for that team. What he was doing, his mid-range pull-up, top notch.
Yeah, what is it? Dribble, rap behind the back, stop, pull up.
Yeah, that was his thing. He put that thing behind the back. He's gonna pull up, and he was smooth with it.
Yeah. He was talented. So, but you having such a great season and playing great in the NCAA tournament, I'm pretty sure that there were some decisions that needed to be made at that point in time. So talk about some of the decisions that you were going to have to make at that point in time.
So we go to the Final Four. We lose to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm really because at that point I had a good NCAA tournament run. So I'm thinking like, it might be time to leave. I'm training for the draft and my knee keeps flaring up. And basically I just had like some bone spurs that need to be taken out of my knee and everything. And I was fine after that. But I was worried. I was like, man, I don't want to go into the draft process and my knees flaring up and they're thinking that I'm damaged goods and I'm not able, because my knee was flaring up, I had to stop my workouts. And so I was like, man, coming in these workouts, I got to be able to, kill it. You can't come into your draft workouts out of shape. I was like, I wasn't going to be a top 5 pick. I come into this draft workouts out of shape. I might mess around and slip from top 15 to late second round. So I was like, let me just come back for another year, get my knee drained, make sure that I do the best that I can, have another good offseason of conditioning. And I think I can do something pretty good. And so coming into my senior year, we had a tremendous year. Like, I think we won like 19 games in a row at one point. Might be the longest Carolina win streak ever, unless somebody broke it recently. But at that point, that was the longest Carolina win streak that anybody ever had. So I think I made the right decision, came back to Carolina, me, Joe Forte, Julius Peppers, we all ran it back, and we had a really, really good run.
Mm-hmm. No question. And so now that you've had a great, 4 years at the University of North Carolina, and it's time for you to become a professional. Now the decision that you chose not to make the following year is now upon you. So how was your draft process, and how was that whole thing, knowing that, hey, this is the reason why I came to the University of North Carolina? Not only just to be a professional athlete, but put myself in a position where I could get my degree. But here it is, the NBA draft, and this opportunity is upon me. How was that for you?
The NBA draft process was different because I didn't know where I was going to be drafted. So, some guys, they'd be like, hey, man, you're going to go between 1 and 4. Well, those guys only got to work out for like 3 to 4 teams.
Right.
I was hearing like, listen, I might go as high as 8, as low as like 18. So that means I got to work out for everybody. So like my draft process, and you've been through this, it was almost like I was just going city to city working out. Like I would train in Chapel Hill, or I'd go up to DC with the trainer that I had at the point. Boom, then I'd fly to Seattle and work out. I'd come back for a couple of days, boom, I'd fly right back out, and I'd be working out for another team and this team and that team. So it was a lot of different individual workouts. And then I thought I did pretty well. and I get to draft night, and I have a good feeling, but the night was weird because I'd had great workouts in Detroit, and Joe Dumars had made me a promise. He said, "Listen, if Rodney White's not on the board, we're taking you, but he's supposed to be gone way before you." Rodney White played at UNC Charlotte, 6'8" forward.
Yeah,
he was
right.
dynamic. I was like, cool. We get to the 8th pick. Rodney White's there because Pau Gasol had jumped everybody and went like number 2 or 3. And nobody thought Pau Gasol was going that high. So now Rodney White's there, so I don't go 8. I'm like, cool, because Seattle likes me. I get to number 13. Seattle doesn't take me. I'm like, all right. Orlando has already told me I will not get past 15. My agent has told me you're going between 8 to 15 now. Cool. 15 comes. I'm getting ready. All I hear is, and with the 15th pick, Orlando takes Stephen Hunter. I said, oh, damn. I don't know what's going to happen now.
They took Flipper.
Yeah, and so now my draft night goes from being an incredible night to now being scary. I hadn't worked out for a lot of these teams outside of 15. Like, the only team I worked out for outside the top 15 was Houston. And then Houston came, and I forgot. I think they took Jason Collier. And rest in peace, Jason Collier. And so I was like, man. I remember telling my boy, I was like, yo, Doug, I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't worked out for the rest of these teams. And I'm thinking in my head, because remember the previous year, Rashard Lewis had been left in the draft room. He was crying. I'm like, man, I don't want to be out here like Rashard Lewis was. Man, I was worried. And the next thing you know, out of nowhere, with the 20th pick, the team I never worked out for, the Cleveland Cavaliers, just drafted me. And on draft night, if you're in the room, green room, the camera comes towards you. So the camera comes towards me. I'm like, I didn't even know who was on the clock. I was like, once that camera came towards me, I was like, thank you, Lord, I'm up out of here. And so it went from an extreme high of I'm about to be drafted to a low of I don't know what's about to happen. And then all of a sudden I get drafted. Cleveland traded me to Orlando. They came back into the draft and got me with that pick. And then I'm just walking across the stage shaking David Stern's hands. And I was able to play 14 years in the league after that. So it was an incredible night for me because that was something I'd always dreamed of, man. That was where my basketball journey I thought was destined to take me. And I always wanted to be a pro.
Yeah. And I know it meant a lot to you, but I know your mom was extremely proud. You know, your mom was extremely proud. And she did a great job with you, helping you become the man that you are today. And I know a lot of times you did things that were for your mom, like any young man would do. Yeah, and so it was great to see you reach your goals and to see that, you know what, you put a plan together, you and your family put a plan together to put yourself in the position to reach those goals. And so, you know, you were able to win a NBA championship as well. You know, very, very few get an opportunity to do that. How was that experience, Brendan? How was that experience?
Listen, winning an NBA championship was incredible. It was obviously the highlight of my career. And I think that was probably one of the best basketball educations I could have ever gotten. Because everybody, I told you about the sacrifice, everybody on that team had to sacrifice something.
Right.
And I learned so much being in Dallas for those 2.5 years, as opposed to being in DC for like 8 years before that. Like, when you get on a championship team, you realize that what you were doing before, you were just playing to play. In DC, we just played to play. We didn't have the clear objectives, the goals, the discipline, the sacrifice. So playing on that championship team, it taught me so much. And I had to learn how to be happy winning in a different manner, because I thought I was going to be the starter on that team. And I wasn't. Tyson, they brought in Tyson, and Tyson was the starter. So it was like, man, I had to learn how to, hey, when we get the win, it can't just be about I played my minutes and played well. I got to be happy for just us as a unit. And everybody is sacrificing. Sean Marion was used to being an all-star in Phoenix. He had to be a role player. He wasn't happy about that. You know, Caron Butler was used to getting the ball in fourth quarters when we were in D.C. Rick Carlisle told him flat out, hey, man, we got Dirk and Jason Terry. If you're taking shots in the fourth quarter away from them, you won't be out there. He had to sacrifice that. Jason Kidd had to sacrifice play calls. like he had to sacrifice some minutes because J.J. Barea was on that team. So when I look back at that team, I learned so much from a basketball standpoint because our coaching staff was top notch. When you talk about Rick Carlisle and just that whole staff in general, and then when I look at all the veterans that everybody sacrificed so we could win, we followed the game plan to a T. Everybody said, you know what, my individual goals don't matter, and that was what was so special about winning that championship team. That was the first time I'd really ever experienced that, a team that was just completely and utterly selfless.
That's interesting. You know, I always talk about being, you know, I've never won at that level, but, you know, just having a lot of wins under my belt, winning a few championships here and there, that's the most important part, selfless, being selfless. And I think even, you know, for us as Carolina basketball players, we understand, you know, being selfless and sacrifice. And so that environment kind of fit who you were. And it's great to see you have an opportunity to win a world championship. But, you know, I want to go back in time to your freshman year. If you could remember, because everybody likes to hear a great story. I want to see if you can remember.
Tell that UVA story. Don't you tell that UVA story.
No, I'm not going to tell the UVA story. Somebody going to tell it though one day. I'm not going to tell it. Somebody going to tell it. No, I'm talking
about got you suspended.
If it had not been for Coach Smith, Coach Smith, Coach, that's why that's my man. Coach Smith don't play the radio. But going back to your freshman year, man, ACC tournament in Greensboro. You know, we had you know, at that time we had started taking it upon ourselves to change roommates. You know, some of the seniors, you know, the older guys, and so, you know, we would change roommates. You know, we say, hey, we're gonna, you know, they give us the rooming list, you know, and then we just be like, we'll wait, and then we'll say, nah, I'm gonna be roommates with Brad Frederick. I'm gonna be roommates with Max, and I think you got wind of it. You got wind of we were changing roommates, and if I'm not mistaken, you decided to change the roommates on your own.
I don't even remember this.
You don't remember this?
I promise you I don't.
Let me take you back then.
It sound like something I would do. So carry on.
Oh man, does it? So as we're walking down the hall and we're talking about roommates, you remember this? And I said, well, I'm gonna go with this person. I'm gonna go with this. I think Ed and them said, Ed and Terrence Newby said they were gonna be together and so on and so forth. I think you made a statement. I'm gonna be roommates with such and such. And your second daddy turns around and says, how you picking your roommate? You don't get to pick no roommate. And you start saying, well, why? So there it is. Everybody stops, and you and Mac are going, you don't remember this?
I promise you I do not remember it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, let me
I promise you I don't. I do not remember it.
You don't remember this? Oh, man. So as you're sitting there saying, well, you say, well, everybody else is picking their roommates. Why can't I pick my roommates? And then Mac says, well, you don't get to pick a roommate. You're a freshman. You just do as you told. And you were like, well, that's not fair. Mac was like,
it definitely sound like me. It definitely sound like me.
Yeah. You said, well, that's not fair. Mac said, well, it ain't about being fair. When you get a chance, when you're a senior, you can do what you're doing. But right now, you're going to do what we tell you to do. You ain't going to mess this up. And then you said, wait a minute, Mac. Wait a minute. Who you think you are? You think you Mr. Haywood? You don't remember that?
You know what? I do remember. I remember saying that, but I had no idea what it was about.
Oh my God! When you said that, Mac, wait a minute, and then everything stopped. I promise you, everything stopped. So, because you know everybody's looking. You 7 feet, Mac 6'11". So, and everything that you had endured that you know what I mean with you and Mac, you know what I mean, y'all like big brother, little brother, and you just like, man, just wait a minute. Wait a minute. I said, oh, you know, I turned, I stopped. I said, uh-oh, young fella about to do something. You said, she licked your face. You said, who do you think you are? You think you Mr. Haywood? And boy, everybody fell. I can't believe you remember that. Everybody fell out on the floor. and Mac Tar, you can see the steam. You can see the steam coming out of his head. You remember that? And he was like, "You gonna be my roommate, and you gonna stay in this room?" Because we was in Greensboro, and you was like, "No, I'm gonna go out and catch up with some of my friends." And Mac told like, "No, you gonna stay in this room." You remember that?
No, I promise you I don't.
Oh my gosh, boy, you talking about? That's one of the funniest statements, man. That's one of the funniest. I mean, we still talk about it. Even when I talk to Mac.
Hey, listen, the crazy thing is, like, my freshman year, I hated Mactar. I hated him. I hated him, right?
Right.
It's because, like, you know, he was trying to toughen me up. He was trying to be hard on me. I didn't understand it. I was just like, dude, I don't like you. Like that's not, like, that's just. But then when he left, and it was probably like even after, because he was still playing professional overseas for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dog, like then he left, and when I went to the pros, and then I had to go through some of the things that I went through, you realize that it made you better, it made you understand certain things. But I'm not even gonna lie, because you know, when I got into the NBA, I had to get into a couple of tussles just to hold my own in the locker room.
Right.
And after them couple of tussles, I was like, that's when I really realized how big of a person I was. Because I was a big kid. I was 17. I was on Carolina's campus at 17.
Right.
Like, the average human being, man, if I put my hands on them, man, they can't do nothing about it. I swear to God, for like 3 years of playing pickup basketball, I used to put myself on the opposite team from Mac, hoping he'd start some trouble. I'm like, oh, I hope this isn't the year. But by that point, it was weird he had befriended me. You know what I'm saying? Like we cool. At that point, I was like, oh man, he want to be friends now, man. I'm ready for the smoke.
No, man, he ain't never, you know. Nah, you took that the wrong way.
But I'm 17. I'm 17. Yeah. I'm on campus at 17, man. You have a different mentality at 17 than you do at 25, 35, 41 now. So it's totally different mentality.
Yeah, because you were one of the very few people that could actually get up under his skin, and that for me, that was what was so funny for me. That's why I would just sit there. I was sitting there like a kid in the candy store just watch y'all. Like, you could do something, you know, you just did, like, you was just, man, I would have hated to see.
It's a gift and a curse. I can definitely get into people's skin if I choose to. It's a gift and a curse.
It'd be like,
just press that one button.
See what he's gonna do. Yeah, man. But hey, Brendan, man, I'm proud of you, man. I mean, it's great to see where you are in your life today. You're one of the great analysts on television, man. I mean, you really do a great job with that. I mean, you don't have many guys that the perception. Let's talk about the perception. The perception of big men, tall guys, is that they're tall, they're physical, they play basketball, and a lot of times the perception could be that they're aloof. And you're most definitely not that individual. And it's great to see how you handle this environment. It's great to see how you navigate the game. I mean, anytime you're on television, I make sure that I'm following you. I love, sometimes I text you. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's great to have somebody that you can relate to, not only about the game but about life. I mean, and just speaking with you and seeing how you are with your daughter, and man, just watching you evolve, man. It's you've held your family in high regard, and you've done a great job representing your family, but you've done an even better job of representing this institution, man. And we're very thankful to have had you attending University of North Carolina, but I'm very blessed to have had you as a brother and a teammate, man. And man, I love you. It ain't too much else I can say, you know what I mean? Other than, everybody know I'm an emotional guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. So when you turn, you probably seeing me cry. I was the one crying when Coach Smith.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you from my freshman year all the way to now. I appreciate the friendship, the bond, the brotherhood. I appreciate you having me on the show, man. And listen, man, I appreciate the text messages when I'm on TV and all that stuff, man. So all that goes a really long way. And that's honestly, that's what makes those two jerseys you have behind you. That's what makes Carolina. Because there's certain guys, whether I'm talking about you whether I'm talking about Julius Peppers, Adam Boone, like there's going to be certain guys, Jawad Williams, guys I didn't even play with. Those are my brothers for life. And that's basically what this is, man. It's a bond, it's a brotherhood.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was great to have Mr. Haywood on this podcast. And when you have an opportunity to check him out on television, make sure that you support him and check him out. You can learn a great deal about life and basketball from this man. And just a side note, the only thing that he and I do battle with is being the best dressed. You know, we the best dressed. You know, I've always took the moniker of being the best dressed. And I will say he's done a great job of being sharp and debonair.
Hey, man, my wife helps me out a lot. That's all I can say.
Well, awesome, man. Awesome. It's great, Brendan, having you, man. Thank you for your time. Please tell your wife you said hello, man, and get back to that daughter of yours, man.
Will do, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Brendan Hayward.